This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism. Start planning your fall hunt in North Dakota at legendary.com. And by Onyx, the #1 GPS hunting map. Know where you stand with Onyx. Hunting seasons are open across much of the country, and that means we're busy filming television shows. Scott Fransen just returned from an adventure in Wyoming that has long been on his bucket list. He was after his own version of Wyoming's Upland Slam. You're about to find out how it all went down. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton is our producer. Scott Fransen is the owner of this entire operation, and he just returned from a hunt in Wyoming. So I thought it would be fitting to suck up to my boss a little bit and have him on the show. But really, we just want to give you information that we're finding from the field in real time. So that's the real reason why you're on the show today. Scott, welcome home. How was your journey in Wyoming?
It was wonderful. It was exhausting, but it was just a hunt that I have not experienced in my lifetime, Travis.
Any guess on how many miles you put on your feet and how many the dogs put on?
I do have a guess because I wear one of these Fitbit things.
Yeah.
And in 3 days of hunting, I think Aaron Ochtenberg, our chief photographer, and I each walked approximately 35 miles. So my guess is Hank, my dog, I'm guessing he's around 70 or 100 miles in 3 days. I'll tell you this, Travis, I have yet to have worn that dog out. And by the end of the third day, he actually laid down in his kennel and slept.
Any idea, did the Fitbit keep track of the flights of stairs that you went up and down?
It did. And I'm trying to remember, I think one of the days when we were in the mountains hunting, it was close to 200 flights of stairs or something like that. And it tells me I burn a lot of calories. It doesn't look like it on my body, but it's telling me I'm burning a lot.
Your wife wasn't impressed when you came home?
Oh, she said, yeah, look at the 2-pack you have.
Nice. Well, you were after your version of the Upland Slam, but before we get into that, you and I have both been on the road now for the past couple of weeks driving through bird country. Anything stand out to you as far as crop harvest or sites that you've come across that might help other hunters getting ready to hit the field? This is a pheasant opener for a few of the states in the Midwest: Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, I think South Dakota too.
I think you're right. Yeah, I would say in general, it is ahead of normal and definitely way ahead of last year. I think what I have seen is the majority of the soybeans are in, and the corn harvest is definitely in the works. It kind of depended on where we were, and what we would see. The further west we got, more and more corn was in. A little east, there was stages of corn coming in and some still in the field. But if I were to encapsulate in one overall point of view, is definitely ahead. And I think hunters going out this weekend will find areas where the crops are all in, and the surrounding or adjacent grasslands or cover should be holding birds. And I would say, and you maybe saw this too, Travis, it is definitely way drier than it was last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everywhere. I've been in, southwest Minnesota and in different parts of South Dakota the past couple of weeks. And I can say Minnesota, I mean, they're going 100%. There's not a field that doesn't have somebody working it. There's a lot of fields in southwest Minnesota right now that are black, meaning the crops are out and they're already tilled up. I mean, they are black. And I would say, I don't want to put an exact number on it, but I feel like corn is 50% out already, which for, the last few pheasant openers in Minnesota, they've been looking at almost 100% of the corn still standing. I know last year it was really wet. This week we're going to see we have great forecasts again. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are places that people go this weekend that it's just going to be. I mean, if you don't go pheasant hunting on the opener this weekend, you are totally, totally missing out because we've been saying for months now that the numbers are up. All the numbers across the country, bird country, I should say, have numbers way up. And now, on top of that, crop harvest is way ahead of schedule, meaning there's just going to be a lot of birds in the grass. There are going to be birds in places that they, normally could hide from us. So I expect one of the best pheasant openers across the Midwest this weekend. And I'm hearing from a lot of people that they're going to be out there. So things are looking good. Things are looking really, really good. Let's get back to your Wyoming adventure, Scott. You hunted in what region of Wyoming were you guys at?
We were near Sheridan, Wyoming, and we were doing a lot of hunting in and around the Bighorn Mountains, and
Okay.
kind of on both sides of it. And then we went as far west as kind of the Gray Bull area, looking for sage grouse. And as hunters know, lots of times you put on a lot of miles. We drove a lot of miles every day trying to find birds, walking and getting into different habitat. But it is just phenomenal in beautiful country. It was visually stunning. Oftentimes I'd be, hiking up a mountain, barely able to catch my breath. And I would just take in these areas where we were hunting and have to pinch myself. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, I've caught myself many times. I'm sure our cameramen are sick of me saying it, but the when I get in those places, I just stop for a moment and I look around and I'm like, gosh, you guys, I feel like we're hunting in a postcard right now. It's just spectacular up there. What was the goal on your hunt? You kind of had to Upland slam on your list. What was that goal?
We were trying to get each of the four grouse species that were around this area. So sage grouse, blue grouse, rough grouse, and sharp-tailed grouse. So that was our goal. I have never personally hunted or shot a sage grouse or a blue grouse. I've hunted rough grouse many times, sharp-tailed many times. But that was on my personal bucket list. And I talked to many people that we've met over the years filming the show who've talked about, in particular, the sage grouse and what a neat, cool bird it is. And so I wanted to try, and special bird, based on numbers and things like that. So I wanted to try and see if I could get one of those birds in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, who did you hunt with on this trip and why did you set it up the way you did?
This is a friend of mine named Clint Crum who lives in the area. And I had fished with Clint for trout on the Bighorn River many times. And he guides trout fishermen on the Bighorn River. And when we were fishing together, you talk about a lot of things. And we got onto bird hunting. And this is something we've discussed, concocted, and worked on for many years. And it worked out this year that he had a window and I had a window that we could get together and chase these birds.
Gotcha. So where did you start? What was the first bird on your list?
Well, the first bird on our list was the sage grouse because it was the last day of the season on September 30th. And so we started with the sage grouse. We went over the mountain to the west side of the Bighorns, like I said, down by the Gray Bull area, and started in what Clint describes as, he said, it's desert. It's almost like Afghanistan. You look at it, it's red clay, lots of sage, tons of open country with bluffs here and there. And that's where we started looking for the grouse on public land. And we drove for a while, probably about an hour and a half, found this spot. We got out. It looked, from what I could see, very sagey, very the sage grouse. I guess that's where I'd be.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of sign, a lot of old sign though. We hunted for about an hour and a half to 2 hours in this area. Never put a bird up. The dogs got a little birdie at different times, but nothing that was like, oh my gosh, something's imminent. Walked back to the car, watered the dogs, etc. And then Clint got a call from a friend of his and said, "Hey, I was scouting for moose up on the mountain, on the other side of the mountain," and he said, "I saw some grouse on a sage flat at the top of the mountain." So we got in the cars and drove kind of an hour and a half on the other side of the Bighorn Mountains to find this area where we thought maybe we could pin some down.
Hmm. Information. What kind of dogs did you guys run?
We, believe it or not, we were running mostly labs. I had Hank,
Hmm.
and then Clint has three different labs. On this particular day, he had his older dog Wendy, who's I think she said 11 years old, black lab, and then we hunted with a friend of Clint's named Paul Wallop, and he was running an English Cocker, which I had never hunted with before. And oh my gosh, are those dogs fun to hunt with? They have so much energy and
Right.
excitement. I want one now. I told my wife when I came home, I was like, honey, we're going to 2.5 dogs because an English Cocker is kind of like a half a dog. So we'll get another lab, and I'm going to think I might have to add an English Cocker into the pack.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Well, how did they handle it? Because when I hunted sage grouse, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of acres that really kind of all look the same. I mean, it's just massive. And if you're a pheasant hunter in the Midwest, you almost can't even fathom really just how big some of these pieces are. And having a dog, because Hank will range out there a little bit, but he hunts pretty close, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the dogs that we hunted with when I hunted sage were those pointers that ranged. Some of them were out 3, 4, 500 yards, and we wanted that because you're almost looking for a needle in a haystack. I mean, there are some people will tell you, those lower areas that have a little bit more moisture tend to be where the birds are early in the season, but by later in the season, and if it's dry, those birds aren't relating to those low spots anymore, and they can be essentially anywhere. So I'm actually kind of curious to find out what your experience was like with those labs.
Well, I'll say that's kind of what I thought when I asked Clint what kind of dogs he hunted with, or if he was bringing his labs. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's all I hunt with." And so I said, "Okay, well then I'm going to take Hank."
Hmm.
Um, Speaking for my dog Hank, I did let him range a little bit more in those flat areas. It was a little disconcerting because it sure seemed like country where there could be rattlesnakes.
Hmm.
Um, Clint said he'd never really seen any out there, but his dogs were snake trained. Hank is not. We didn't see any, thank goodness.
Yep.
And he worked. They worked well. And then when we got in the mountain country, when we drove back up the mountain, I think we were hunting then at about, I'm guessing 8,000 feet, somewhere in that range, maybe 8,500. And
Okay.
then we worked our way down on a huge sage flat on the side of the mountain, and the dogs worked really well. My biggest concern was, and you've hunted with Hank, Travis,
Hmm.
Clint's dog was older, a little more paced itself differently. Hank just goes, and I was worried he was going to fly off one of these ledges afterward or something, but he did it, and he hunted really well. I have to say, um, I think dogs become so adaptable and understand that you're hunting. He hit a scent on a grouse we put down, on a sage grouse we put down, and it was just like any other retrieve he'd made. And he would get hot, on just like when we were hunting pheasant. So I was pleasantly surprised at how these labs, and in particular my lab, did hunting these birds he'd never hunted before.
Did they flush? I mean, did you flush a lot of birds? Did they flush out of range? What were the numbers like?
We flush on the sage grouse side either 3 or 4 birds. We hunted all day to get those uh, in particular 3 flushes that we had shots at. And I would say it was worth every step. It's, to me, that maybe, and maybe I'm overstating it, but it might be the equivalent of what a big game hunter does in the mountains, hunting elk in particular, trying to call an elk in, bow hunting, walking, calling until he gets that one moment, that one interaction with the animal, and it's all worth it. I would say that the excitement and just sense of accomplishment that at least I had and I'll, close your ears. I shot a sage grouse, was like, whoa, that was cool. And never did I feel like I walked 12 miles for one shot type of thing. It was 100% worth it. 100% worth it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. When I've been on those kind of hunts, it's different because of the just all of the elements that go into it, right? I mean, you're at what, 7, 8,000 feet. You're watching dogs hunting in some of the most beautiful habitat in the world, and you get this bird, and it might just be one bird. When I was out there, it was one bird, and I'm like, that's it. That's all I need.
Right.
I accomplished the goal that I set out for. And some people might say, oh, it's just a bird. No, I disagree. I think it's everything that took to get you to that point, and you hold that there, and the reward is yeah, I mean, it's a trophy. Did you get a bomber?
What's that?
That's a big male.
No, we got 2 young birds and then one adult female, I think.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, they're all trophies in my opinion. So, did you feel like you know, was that your expectation? I mean, you just wanted one, or did you think like, hey, I'll probably see 30, 50, 100 birds today, or did you think I might only see 2 or 3?
I set my expectations low, thinking that we might just see 2 or 3, or maybe say one covey or something, one flock. And part of that is in watching an episode you did where you were chasing them. You had areas where you saw a lot, but then I know from talking with you that you
Mhm.
worked really hard to get in those positions in areas that you saw them one day and went back the next, they weren't there. So I was just hoping, and plus it's the last day of the season. These birds have been pushed around. The areas that they might have been in 2 weeks ago has changed. All the different variables that go into game movement and where they relate during the course of the season were in play. So I was just thankful not only that we saw a bird, but that we were actually to harvest some birds as well. It was everything I had hoped for, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Where did you guys go after that? I mean, your list had 4 birds in it, so you
It
were
did.
already in pretty high elevations. Was that the end of the day? You guys high fived and called it a day?
We harvested those birds. I think it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we set out at 6:30. And we got to the car. We high fived. We high fived in the field. We high fived back at the car. We celebrated with a cold beer. Took a few pictures, and it was about 4:30. And as it happens, on this road we were on, and we're on public ground, obviously. At the end of this road was a Native American historic site called a Medicine Wheel. That's in the Bighorn Mountains. People can look it up. And Aaron said, I'd like to see that. We're here. I may never be this way again. Why don't we go see it? We all agreed. And Clint and Paul, who obviously live in the area, said it was spectacular. So we drove up. It was probably about a half mile further on this dirt road we're on, up the mountain. I think we were almost at tree line there. And we parked, and we are going to walk in. And little did Aaron and I know, as we walked up and saw the picture of it, and we were like, this looks really cool. We read the fine print and see it's a 3 mile round trip walk. But at that point we were committed to it. So we walked another 3 miles
Wow.
into the medicine wheel, up and down. And it was just something, if you're in that area, you got to see. Very spiritual. I'm not sure how old it is. I haven't had a chance to really look since I've been home at the all the information and timing of when it was built. But it's very cool. In fact, I'm going to bring my family back there to see it when we take annual trips out west, and I'd like them to be able to see it too. So that's what we did. So by the time we got back to the car from that hike and seeing this Native American medicine wheel, I think it was about 6:30, so going on dark. We had enough time to get back down the mountain, get out of our hunting stuff, and hit this little bar restaurant before 8 o'clock to get something to eat and hit the hay.
And in the end of the day, when this story hits the air, your 16-hour adventure on one day is going to amount to about 4 minutes of television, most likely.
100%. That's exactly right. It is. It's going to be boiled down into 4 minutes of television, and but it should be a pretty neat segment.
Yeah. So you guys went after blue grouse next, right? Or which were the next birds on your list?
We did. You're right, Travis. So the next day, our plan. So sage was the hardest and the most time constrained grouse we figured. So we had to do that first. And the next day, we were going to go for the second hardest, the blue grouse. But on the way up the mountain to the area we were going to bluegrass hunt, there was a nice little spot where we stopped. We thought we could maybe see a rough grouse or two and check that box. So our first hunt in the morning was for rough grouse, and it was, I think we were probably at about 7,500 feet there, and we were hunting mostly poplar aspen drainages down the side of the mountain, and we kind of go down one and then walk another one up, and we hunted up and down for a good hour and a half, and really neither dog got very birdie on this hunt. We'd kind of made a semicircle. We were almost back to the truck. And I said to Aaron, well, Aaron, I don't know why we walked up and down this GD mountain all day or all morning, because I can tell you, if we're going to see a grouse, it's going to be right off the road. That's where they always are, right? And we kind of chuckled about it. And Clint came back, and we were walking down the dirt road back towards the trucks. And sure as you know what, Hank puts up a rough grouse right off the dirt road, and it flies. And we thought either it set down in this little drainage on the ground and we could bump it up again, or it landed in a tree. So we got in position. Clint got on one side, I was on the other. Aaron got on the side Clint was on, and I took Hank down into this little hollow. It looked like any grouse area, rough grouse area you might find in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or whatever, just smaller. And the dogs are working around, and nothing got up, and we're talking and trying to figure out where maybe it could have set back down. And then all of a sudden it comes wailing out of the pine tree and flares right in front of Clint in the camera. And Clint goes to shoot it, and click, his over under misfires. And then by the time he regathers himself, he shoots again, and the grouse is probably 50 yards further down the mountain. We miss, and he's cussing himself. He said, I should have brought this up, because he had the same thing happen when we were sage grouse hunting, when a sage grouse got up in front of him. And he said, I thought I'd cleaned it and oiled it enough. And so we chased that grouse, walked back down, halfway down the mountain, and Hank ended up flushing it again. And I got 2 long shots at it that time and failed to hit it. So we
Spoiler alert.
yeah, spoiler alert, did not get the grouse there. So then we continued our hunt up the mountain and went to our blue grouse spot. And we started on that above tree line, and then walked down several hundred or 1,000 feet to where we found blue grouse.
Well, I'm interested in blue grouse. I've got several questions here because there's still a bird on my list. But first, I just have to give you a quick reminder that bird numbers, while they're up in a lot of the country, they're also up in North Dakota. The annual roadside counts this year are in, and here are the stats. Pheasants observed per 100 miles are up 38%. Sharptails are up 54%, and Hungarian partridge are up 45%. And with an estimated 4 million breeding ducks, up 18% this year, North Dakota's central region is prime habitat for both hunting waterfowl and upland birds. Plus, North Dakota has more than 700,000 acres of private land open to public walk-in hunting. For the latest plots guide, visit the North Dakota Game and Fish Department or legendary.com. I also want to welcome Onyx Maps to our show. I've been using Onyx Maps for years, and they have become easily the best scouting tool I've ever used. Right at my fingertips, I always know what kind of property I'm standing on, which makes 100% sure that I'm always hunting where I have permission. And their maps also reveal places that I probably should be hunting. They've just launched 3D maps, which change their views entirely. I'm heading to the Badlands area for a hunt in a few hours now, and I'm certain that I'll be using this feature to help find those places where I expect birds to be hiding. Onyx Maps, the best tool for every hunter, clearly showing marked property boundaries, public and private landowner names, and more, giving you everything you need to stay legal and ethical. All right, Scott, back to those blue grouse. They've been on my list of birds to hunt for many years. And I've heard from people, some say, why would you go hunt for blue grouse? They're the stupidest grouse you will ever hunt. And then I've heard others say, wait till you go hunt them. They're not as dumb as you think they are. So you've hunted them now. Are they as dumb as people say, or are they a sporting bird?
Definitely a sporting bird. And I have seen blue grouse during summer months, and I guess my recollection of that is yes, they seemed rather dim witted. That was not the case when you are hunting them. First of all, again, it is, you're hunting in vertical areas.
Mm-hmm.
We're going up and down various spruce and pine tree islands that are tiered on the side of this mountain. It's not for the faint of heart. We're working really hard. And I have to give a shout out to Aaron Ochtenberg, who captured all this on camera. He is going up and down these mountains with a 15 to 20 pounds worth of gear. And I think Aaron got 90% of the birds that were ever flushed and or shot. So shout out to Aaron. But no, and this was close quarter hunting, good dog work. The dogs put up these birds, or we got birdie dogs and pinched them off, and it was phenomenal. And shots, Travis, like hunters in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan that are used to hunting grouse or woodcock in the woods, those are the types of shots you're getting, where you have maybe 2 to 3 seconds to get on a bird and get your shot off before it's through the pines, down the mountain, or something like that. It was very fun. And spoiler alert, we did get some blue grouse, and it's a big grouse. I had never held one in my hand, and I was shocked at how big it was. And they're beautiful. They are blue, and they are beautiful.
What size shot did you guys use when you were hunting for them?
I was using 6-shot, Federal Prairie Storm 6-shot, and then after the gun malfunction that Clint had, he was using the Franke 16 gauge.
Okay.
That we took on this hunt with the new Federal Prairie Storm 5-shot.
Okay. Gotcha. You shot that gun a little bit too, didn't you?
I did. I hunted with it all the first day, and I loved it. I've never shot an over-under before. I think I told you that. So I was a little nervous, and I didn't get any time prior to going on this hunt to shoot some clays with it or things like that. So I was really quite nervous that I was going to blow my opportunity at a sage grouse when I was hunting with it. And I didn't, but B, the gun is light, and easy to swing. I was really impressed with it.
Mhm.
And then when Clint used it, he said the same thing. He was astonished at how light it was. And I think I told you maybe this too, spoiler alert, Travis, but that gun never missed on this hunt. So I don't know if it might be that it's never the tool, right? It's always the hunter, or
Yeah.
is it the other way around? I'm not sure, but this time the tool was dead on.
Wow. Well, there it is. You buy yourself a Franke 16
And you're
gauge
never gonna
and
miss.
you never miss. It's as simple as that. I actually shot it on my first hunt too out in South Dakota, hunting for sharptails. And I'm I don't know if I would. It's hard to say this because the 12 gauge is a great gun. The 20 gauge is a great gun. There's a lot of guns out there that have just like perfect uses, but that 16 gauge does, it's right where you want it to be. It's everything. It's like you said, it's extremely lightweight. That particular gun, the Franke Instinct, I don't know, when I shoulder it, it just goes up perfectly. And I mean, I was pretty lethal with it, but I'm confident in that the loads, because these loads now that Federal makes are so dang good. I mean, it's a great pheasant gun, it's a great grouse gun, it's a great everything gun. Those days where you're thinking, do I want the 12? They might be out there a little further. Maybe I want the 12, or maybe the 20. It's like right in the middle. It's just a sweet spot. It's like the ultimate upland gun.
I agree. And for me, it's days where I know I'm going to be doing, say, a lot of walking, or if I'm busting cattails. It's like, okay, the birds might be out there more, but do I want to carry my 12 gauge, which is heavier all day? Maybe
Mhm.
I'll carry my 20, it's lighter, and I'll just choose my shots. Well, this gun you can do both with, which is pretty dang neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sweet, sweet gun. I'm excited. I'm taking it with me on the road here in a few hours when we pack up, and I'm gonna be. I've got a not quite an upland slam like you planned, but I'll be after a variety of different birds, and I'm gonna bring a couple different guns with. And I suppose down the road here this fall, we'll break down kind of the guns that we hunted with and what we learned, what we liked, what we didn't like, things like that. But getting back to the blue grouse, what kind of cover did you hunt them in, and what brought you to? I mean, because you're talking again hundreds of thousands of acres available. What brought you to certain spots?
Well, this was an area Clint had hunted many years. In fact, he said this was the first place he had ever shot a blue grouse. It's the first place his dad had taken him blue grouse hunting. So that's kind of neat. And what we there's roads through the mountain, Bighorn Mountains, dirt roads for recreation, and we saw a number of elk hunters up there. The elk season had just started, and some different turnouts had a lot of the turnouts had trucks in it, and we just figured they're elk hunting. But we drove to this area. We got out, like I said, we were at or above tree line. We get to the edge and we look down, and Clint goes, okay, we're going to be hunting these terraced pine islands, and we'll hit each one of them. And when we're done with that, we'll go drop down to the next one. And there was, we took literally a game trail down probably 600-700 feet to hit the first pine or terrace where these pine islands were. So we're in the middle of pines and deadfalls and things like that. But you could see why game liked it. There was some springs and soft areas where there was still green grass. There was still some flowers and little dandelions coming up and whatnot. And so provided food not only for the birds, but there was a ton of elk sign in this area. Most of it old, but there was one area that still smelled like cow elk that I was walking through. And so we would hit it. We'd walk on this terrace, maybe an eighth of a mile, up and down and covering it. And then we say, okay, we kind of got that one. And we drop down another 500-600 feet to hit the next terrace. And that's where we found these birds. And once we flushed 3 birds, harvested 2, then we stopped. We kind of checked that box. And to me, again, that's another trophy bird. I was not personally looking for a limit. I checked a big box for me and scratched that itch. And then we crawled our way back out to try and see if we could now find more rough grouse or start the sharp-tail side of our hunt.
Gotcha. Do you feel like, I mean, you obviously, I think that's what you're telling me, what I'm listening to. It's the beauty of having friends, right? You get to go out and learn from them. They learn from their parents and took you to places. Without Clint, do you think you could have gone on that hunt and found a blue grouse on your own?
Uh, that's a really good question. I would say maybe. I would have done more research to try and figure it out. When you're meeting a friend and they've got knowledge of an area, you
Hmm.
rely on them, and I definitely did that. I would say I would have given myself a good week to try and first do my research prior to going on the hunt, understanding maybe perhaps where some of these areas were, and then through trial and error, see what I could have found. I don't think I would have been able to find a sage grouse. I'm most confident of that because I would have
Really?
stayed. Yeah, I would have stayed in that area where we initially started hunting because from what I had read, the research I had done, that seemed like more the type of arid, um, kind of mesa type of country that the sage grouse were in. I'm not going to lie. When we drove up the mountain and we got out, I'm like, how do we go from that one area where we hunted where it with red clay and dirt and things like that to the top of a mountain? Why would there? That makes no sense to me. That's not the same area at all. There should be no sage grouse here, and that's where we found them. So I doubt I
That's
would have found a sage grouse in one day. Especially, I would have given myself more time for that too. But I think it would have been tough. I think the blue grouse, perhaps I might have stumbled on them, but that's the beauty of having a friend. And as you know, when we're filming our hunts, we're trying to get our shows done in 3, maybe 4 days of hunting max. And so we rely on friends and PF biologists in some of these areas to
Mhm.
narrow down our search a little bit. Or conversely, it may be areas that you've hunted through the years where you go with your friends or you've just hunted on your own or vice versa, me or Bill or Ron or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you and I, we've both done episodes where we've gone back to our favorite, almost like childhood haunts. I
Right.
mean, they're just places we've hunted our whole life prior to having a TV camera following around. But I bet you would have eventually ran into those sage grouse if you'd have stayed where you were. I'm actually surprised that you said you went up to the top. That, to me, I mean, obviously they can travel a long ways. And the interesting thing about sage grouse is how far, one, how long they live, which is over 20 years. They don't even start breeding until I believe they're 5 years old, something like that. So, but they've documented those grouse, sage grouse, traveling, and I want to say it's over 100 miles that they'll travel, and they'll always come back to the same lek in the spring to do their dancing. But they definitely get around, and if that, I suppose if the habitat is suitable, why not go to the top of the mountain? I would if I was a bird too. You guys had that last species on your list, the sharp-tailed grouse, which to me doesn't seem quite as exotic considering the fact that we could hunt them in Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, but you're out there, right? That was the final grouse on your list. Was it the most challenging? Did you get it?
It it was the most challenging, Travis, believe it or not. It was getting
Sometimes
a
that's
little
how it goes.
scary.
You're like, all right, let's save the easy one for last, and then son of a beep, they're
Yeah,
not where they're supposed to be.
we after we got the blue grouse, we had a nice lunch. We were able to take about a 45-minute break while Clint had a couple things he had to do before we hit a spot that evening that he thought most definitely would hold sharp-tailed grouse. And
Slam
yeah,
dunk. No
yeah,
worries, guys. I got him.
and then we were going to spend the last day trying to get the rough grouse and a different piece of property. Well, long story short, we walked again for a good hour and a half, 2 hours up and down kind of these draws that had various berries that um, attract the sage grouse. And we flushed exactly one. And that one we flushed got out way before we were even close to it in gun range. And that's what we saw on that whole afternoon / early evening of hunting. And we did flush a few pheasants. That was fun to see. Dogs got a couple roosters and a couple hens, but
Nice.
that was it. So now we're down to our last day of filming, and again, Clint felt very confident that the property we were going to hunt this time, we went to some private property, we would find the sharp-tailed grouse. So we did a few other things in the morning for the show. We had to get some different type of footage and whatnot. We actually went back to where we'd seen the rough grouse the morning before, and Aaron wanted to get some drone footage of that. And we flushed another rough grouse, but never had a shot at it. And then we went to our last spot of the trip to try and get our elusive sharp-tailed grouse. And this piece of property we hunted was spectacular. It was full of wildlife and cows, which was interesting. And as we're driving up to hunt our sharp-tailed grouse, we stopped along the way, and about a quarter of a mile off was probably a herd of 200 elk. I got out the binoculars and I could find 6 nice bulls. It was just phenomenal. And we saw deer, we saw whitetail, mule deer, et cetera, all on this property. And
Well, Scott, I'm going to cut you off here because rather than give us the final walkthrough of your last day, let's leave that for the television show that will be coming out next season. And let's just do this. Instead of saying what went down the last day, how about let's talk about just the adventure itself. You long had this on your list of hunts. Why? Why is this something you wanted to do?
well, because I knew a little about where the blue grouse and the sage grouse live. And it is not an easy hunt. And I wanted to go and hunt these birds before I couldn't anymore. And conversely, with the sage grouse, in some areas, numbers are limited. And so it was more just to hunt them. I didn't need to, and see them. I didn't necessarily need to shoot one. And once I did, that was fine for me too. But probably, Travis, just that I wanted to go on an adventure, and I wanted the adventure to be with a couple of species I'd never chased before. And the chase for these birds is hard, rewarding, beautiful, taxing. You name the adjective, and it is, and it is worth it. And that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think what you learn is what I've learned personally, and I can't speak to you, but I'm sure it's probably similar. Once you go out there and you do this kind of a hunt, you realize there's a lot out there that I haven't experienced yet. There's a lot that I haven't done. And for me, I just have that appetite for more. What else? What's next? What else is out in, Wyoming has there's like 10 different upland birds. I mean, you went after the grouse, but you're talking Hungarian partridge, chucker partridge you could have gone after.
Yep.
There are a lot of other birds out there. And the reality, Scott, is you saw, you hunted public land. That means anybody can drive out there. Anybody can go do what you just did this week. Now, you can't hunt for sage grouse anymore this season, but you can start planning for next year. And as far as the other birds, they're out there too. What was the biggest thing? Well, first, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And we in some of the areas we were hunting, we talked. We might see a Hungarian partridge. We might see a chucker in this area, that type of thing. But yes, they're all the mountaintops, for the most part, in these areas are open to public hunting. They're federal land. And if you do a little research, talk to a few locals, you'll, just like anywhere else, you'll get steered in usually the right direction. And you'll have to explore and you'll have to work, and it's not easy. And that, but that's hunting. And if
And it
you,
shouldn't be. It
it
shouldn't be
shouldn't be,
easy.
no. And, but you get that bird, and that's when you say, wow, was that rewarding?
Hmm.
And yeah, I would recommend. And the other thing I would say, Travis, is you're right, because as hunters, when you, for many of us, we have only so many windows in which we can go chase this passion that we have. And you oftentimes tend to go back to hunt memories and or traditions, which are fantastic. And I do it every year with my buddies. But I've committed to myself that I'm going to take one trip that isn't a memory. I want to create some new ones. And I want to see some different parts of the country, some different parts of the world where my dog and I can, just get out, walk, and explore. And if
Hmm.
we have success, that's even better. But just meeting people, seeing different country, that's what I want to do. I want to do one of those hunts a year, and then I'm going to still do my traditions, because those are important as well.
Right, right. On your way home, did you kind of rank in your mind where that hunt stood as far as places that you've been fortunate to go hunting in your life?
Yeah, I would say it's from a beauty standpoint, it's probably the prettiest place that I've hunted, just because of the topography. And we'd get up leave the house at 6:30 in the morning. As we're leaving, the full moon is over the Bighorn Mountains, and oh
Yeah,
my gosh, look at that.
yeah.
Uh, there, yeah, I would rank it top three, I guess, Travis. In my
Mhm.
book, though, they're all pretty neat. It's hard to beat a sunset on the North or South Dakota prairie. There's something really special about that.
Mhm.
The North Woods at this time of year with the colors is breathtaking. But so I love them all. So this is definitely, though, a top three destination for me, or type of hunt that way.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been asked hundreds of times, probably at shows and different places that we're at. And people say, "Hey, if you could go one place, or what are some of your favorite places?" And I say, Wyoming is so underrated, so underrated. There's so many opportunities out there in different habitats and different birds. I'd say it's kind of right in the middle of the country, so it's not going to be a 30-hour drive for most people. It's going to be reasonable, and you just don't hear a lot about it. Did you guys see any other bird hunters out there when you were hunting?
We did not. No,
Yeah, we didn't either.
we
We
did
didn't
not.
either.
You
Yeah,
saw a
it
lot of elk
surprises
hunting.
me. It definitely surprises me for how much game is out there. Last question. Did you learn anything on that hunt that will probably help you for your hunts to come? I mean, chasing different species that you've never hunted before?
Um, I would say, if anything, it reaffirmed what I think we as hunters know, that if you find food source and water in the areas you're hunting, you're generally going to find at least signs of the bird you're chasing. Where we found the sage grouse and the blue grouse, we found their food source. We found a little bit of water, and in that country, that's particularly important because it can be very arid, as you know.
Hmm.
And that's where we found the birds. Was the same thing with the sharp tails. And the rough grouse. The one thing I wanted to add to what you're talking about too, in the course of Wyoming, Travis, is we went out there prepared to potentially do more. If we had great luck over a couple days, I brought duck hunting stuff. I brought my fly rod. We were, if it was, and all of that was open to us if we had success and checked our list. Clint's like, bring your camo, and we can duck season's open. We can go try and hunt some potholes for some teal and wood ducks. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Or if you want to go fly fishing on the Tongue River, it's a great trout fishery. I'm in. So we had a car full of stuff beyond our upland gear ready for anything. And that's the other thing about a trip like that is if you plan it appropriately and you can give yourself your time, you can chase birds 2 days in a row and say, you know, we're going to give the dogs a break. Let's go fishing. And it's neat country. It's really neat country.
So you're saying Ron Sure Productions is leaving Minnesota and heading to Wyoming for a new home base?
I don't know. I don't think so, Trav. I love Minnesota too, but I think a regular company
Staff
meeting, a
outing.
flash meeting in Wyoming would not be a bad idea, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that we should have flush meetings. Absolutely. Where are you off to next?
I leave this Sunday to head out to far northwest North Dakota to chase some pheasants, huns, and sharptails, hopefully.
Dang. Well, I'm going to give you a high five on the freeway on my way back because I'm literally going to close out of this recording here. I'm halfway through packing my bags. I got to go pick up my ice castle fish house. We're camping out on the prairie for the next 8 days. We're going to leave and head out towards the Badlands of North Dakota. Really, really looking forward to that because you say the Badlands. How can you not get excited about that? Um, I, we're going to hunt there for a few days, and then we're going to work our way into Montana. We're going to be in Montana for their pheasant opener this coming weekend. So I'm hoping you did not wear Aaron down because he's joining me for this 2 episode. We're going to most likely end up with adventure. And Scott, this one is really personal for me because I get to bring my own bird dog on a hunt, her first hunt ever, and mine with my own dog, which I've waited my whole life for this moment. So I have been working so hard with Daisy. She has come so far. We've just really been focusing on obedience and, just our relationship so she doesn't run completely over the mountain when we get out there. I'm really a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie because everything's going to be recorded, but we've really spent a lot of time working together. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not been that long, but um, it's going to be special. I'm really looking forward to watching that dog go on point on the side of a bluff or a mountain, and hopefully harvesting our first of many, many, many birds together. Any advice for me on this?
You just enjoy it. It's a
Yeah,
special time to be able to take your first bird dog out in the field and watch him or her do her thing. And then if you're able to harvest a bird, and I'm pretty confident you will, it's the sense of pride that you'll feel will be, I think, surprising to you. It's akin to the first time one of your children go out with you and are able to harvest their first bird. And I think it's just enjoy it. Make
yeah,
sure that Erin edits out any swear words that might come out the first time she goose up, because she will, and that's all part of
yep.
the experience. That's the good stuff, and it's just going to be a blast for you. I'm really happy. I was going to ask you about that, and I'm really happy for you. I think you're going to have fun, so much fun, and I want to see pictures as soon as you get them.
Well, that's one thing I've done with my kids and now my puppy is there's no shortage of photos, and I take a lot of them, but the memories are just too sweet not to. Even in the past couple weeks, I've been on the road a bit filming, and just stopping a couple times. If something is incredible and you have the chance to see it, I've pulled over, stop, look at it, take it in. So I'm really hoping that translates into this hunt. We'll be recording a couple of episodes from the prairie again. I'm bringing the equipment out there. Here's my only thing though. We typically like to post our flush podcast every Tuesday. I'm going to do my best to find internet and be able to get the episodes to you while we're on the road. I hope I can have next week's show for you available but if not, it might be later on in the week. Not just for you, Scott. I know you can't wait for it to come out. I know that, but I'm just talking for everybody else. So that's kind of our plan. We're going to be North Dakota. You are going to be in North Dakota. There's just it's hunting season. It's not a better time of the year. If we could take October and make it about 6 months of the year, I would be a happy man.
Same here. And I look forward to the Flush podcast. The dulcet tones of your voice, Travis, can't get enough of that.
Right,
Well, hey,
right.
one thing you may notice, in fact, I'm sure you will notice with your new dog, is this time you spend with her in the field, the connection and the bond that you're going to have. You're going to love, but it might be even a little frustrating when you bring her back home, because she might now be a little more your dog than the rest of the family dog. It always bothers my wife the first time Hank and I go on a road trip, because she tries all summer to bond with him, and she does, and he loves her and everything. But once you go on that first road trip, it's kind of a different story when we come back to the house.
Well, I've already seen a bit of that because we've been working so closely in training. It's almost like she just has this level of respect for me because I am, we're just connected. I mean, she's right at my side, and we're working and we're going through all this stuff. And so I've seen a little bit of that. And I got to be honest, I'm really excited to let her out and go and hunt, and because she has instincts. Her prey drive is insane. And I've been holding her back for weeks now, and we've been working on obedience, and she needs to know what to do, and so we're getting there. But just to let her go and let her do her thing. But then after this hunt, so we're going to be hunting. We've got 8 days out there. I think while I'm so excited for this, when I come home, and by the way, I'm not going to be in the office for a couple of days when I get home, because I'm actually going to go straight up to my buddy's cabin up in northern Minnesota, and I'm bringing my boys with because it's MEA weekend, and we're going to spend a few days up in the woods, and they're going to be able to hunt with her too. And we're going to
Great.
go grouse hunting. There are sharptail and rough grouse up at our deer camp. And so I'm really looking forward to bringing her back and then sharing all of her skills with my boys. And we have another friend and his young daughter. She's 6 years old, and they're going to go for a walk too. So that part we're not going to be filming. Maybe we should be, but just to really have a couple of days to get away from everything with my kids. The season that when we're on the road, when we come back, it's so nice to be able to spend that with my family as well. So I've got a big couple weeks coming up. I will do my best to try to put that into words, and we'll document it as best we can for our shows. But it's a good time to be hunting. We'll wrap this up now, Scott. I think we're looking at opening day a few days away for pheasant season across the Midwest. Grouse seasons have been open. I have been seeing tons of photos. It's great. We love to see the success you guys are all having. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Scott, I personally have 4 people on my list this year that have never upland hunted before that are going to be going out with me in the coming weeks. Have you picked anybody for yourself?
I have one person joining me on a trip in North Dakota in early November, who
Nice.
has just started hunting the last 2 years and has yet to hunt or shoot his first wild pheasant. So that is our main objective, the first week in November up in North Dakota.
Excellent. You do a great job helping others get back out into the field. I'm looking forward to hearing those stories as well. Once again, we want to thank North Dakota Tourism for helping us make this show possible. To bag your limit this fall in North Dakota, visit legendarynd.com. And don't forget to download the Onyx map to help plan your hunting adventures and find those pieces of property that are open to the public and full of wild birds. Our current episodes are airing right now on the Outdoor Channel. Catch the action every week on The Flush, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be back next week from the prairie for a brand new episode of The Flush Podcast.